An important event a few months ago changed the way I think about the afterlife and what is good and bad. I'm 37 years old and my name is Evelyn Simmons. My job is to help people who have been hurt in a Los Angeles emergency room. David and I have been married for a long time and our daughter Maya is 5 years old. The night shift in the emergency room was over and it was Friday night. One or more cars had crashed on the road and people were quickly coming in hurt. When another emergency came, I was helping a very sick person. I nearly fell and hit my head on the tip of a metal supply cart as I rushed to help the new patient. I slipped on a pool of blood on the floor and hit my head hard. That's all I can remember, how painful it was and how scared my coworkers were. I found out later that I had a very bad traumatic brain injury. When I hit something, my brain swelled up a lot, so I had to have surgery right away. My heart stopped beating during surgery for almost minutes before the doctors were able to get it to start again. Those minutes were filled with something I could never have imagined. Something changed. I will try my best to explain it. A strong sense of peace is the first thing I remember. The pain and chaos of the emergency room were gone, and I felt like I could fly. This place was so beautiful and bright that it was hard to describe. I was pulled to a bright light that was unlike any other I've seen. In terms of brightness, it was brighter than the sun, but not too bright or harsh. It made me feel warm. I saw a person coming toward me as I looked around. I knew it was Jesus as it got closer. I know it sounds crazy, but I was sure he was who he said he was. A strange mix of love and knowledge filled the room when he was there. When I got there early, he greeted me by name and said, "There's something important I need to show you before you leave." I couldn't say anything when he was around, but I asked, "Are you not going to stay?" He asked with a small smile. "No, Isabella, not yet. You still have work to do on Earth. But what I'm about to show you will help you see how the fight you're in really works." He made it clear that this was just a short stop. All of a sudden, things changed around us. That place of peace and light was no longer where we were. Without a doubt, I would say that we were in heaven. It was so much more beautiful and wonderful than our world. They were all singing wonderful things and giving off light. The music was different from anything else I've ever heard. It seemed like love and happiness had been turned into sound. One angel stood out to Jesus in particular. It was more lovely and bright than the others. Its light shone brighter, and its voice led the choir of angels in the most beautiful praise. He told me, "This is Lucifer the way he used to be." Pay close attention, because what I'm about to show you not many people have seen before. Lucifer was wonderful. It's tough to explain how beautiful he was. Diamonds, emeralds, and rubies, as well as other valuable stones, seemed to cover his whole body. And they reflected light in designs that were very bright. His wings were huge and sparkled in every color you can think of. It wasn't just how he looked, though. His charm made everyone want to be with him when he sang. When Jesus spoke, I thought his voice could shake heaven itself. He told me that Lucifer was the most perfect being and the greatest angel. He was in charge of the angelic host and watched over God's throne. During prayer, Jesus said that Lucifer was the seal of perfection because he was wise and beautiful. It's hard to believe that someone so good could turn bad, and it broke my heart to see him do that. The change was slow at first. I saw Lucifer look at himself in the golden streets of heaven and like what he saw. He looked at himself for a very long time. He told me to be careful because I was seeing the beginning of pride. Then I saw him compare himself to other angels. Each time, his face changed a little. God the Son told me that Lucifer was becoming proud. He forgot that God gave him his good looks and skills. I felt like I could see what he was thinking. He asked himself, "Why should I bow to anyone? I'm the most beautiful and smart person. I should be praised. I should follow the rules." God spoke to me and said that pride is the root of all sin. That's what turns love for others into love for self-gratification, entitlement, service, and power. I saw Lucifer start to try to get the attention of the other angels. His movements and songs would get more complicated, as if he were putting on a show instead of leading prayer. He began to whisper to other angels, too. Lucifer is spreading doubt by telling the angels that God is keeping something from them, that they deserve more. A lot of the other angels changed their minds after hearing him say things like, "Don't you think we deserve more? We're so strong and beautiful. Why should we honor God? Why can't we be gods?" I could see the angels becoming more and more confused and in question. Some fought back, but others were swayed by Lucifer's dream of being on the same level as God. He told me that free will is like a sword with two edges. It can lead to love and loyalty, but it can also lead to being turned down and rebelling. It shocked everyone how well he was being used to make other angels hate God. Lucifer was very believable and interesting. People would say things to him that seemed innocent at first, but they were really meant to make them feel bad. He might ask, "Have you ever thought about why God keeps the tree of knowledge to himself? Do you not believe that we also deserve to know that? Or, why should we bow down to people? Aren't we better than them?" Seeing how sad God was one of the most moving parts of the vision. I heard Jesus say that our Father's heart hurts because he loves Lucifer and all the angels so much, but love needs free will. No matter where you are, even in heaven, you can choose to love and follow God. I saw God reach out to Lucifer many times and give him chances to change his mind. But Lucifer's pride always got in the way. I saw Lucifer get his crew together. He made some good points, and it looked like about a third of the angels had changed their minds. He stood in front of God's throne and said, "I will rise above the clouds. I'm going to become like the Most High." Things changed a lot as soon as he said those words. As Lucifer's light began to fade, I could see that blackness was beginning to take over his body. Then there was a bright flash, and Michael, another archangel, showed up with some brave angels. He said, "Now there is war in heaven." I could not have imagined a war like the one in heaven. There were no real guns, but I saw streams of light battling with darkness that was getting closer. Lucifer and his followers were being pushed back by the loyal angels led by Michael. But what really hurt me was seeing Lucifer and the other renegade angels change as they fought against God's will. Their shapes began to change and twist, and the darkness began to eat away at their once beautiful light. Took Lucifer and his followers to the edge of heaven, and then they were thrown out in an instant I'll never forget. I saw Lucifer fall like a star being thrown from the sky. He showed me that God really wanted to connect with the world he made. Jesus said that the price of free will was giving everyone, even loose lurker, the real chance to do bad things. When our dad gave us this gift, he knew how much it was worth. He was sure it would hurt so much that it would kill his own son. He knew it would be worth it for the love that would come from having a choice, though. It blew my mind that this was a part of my idea. He taught me that God's plan was more beautiful and bigger than just stopping bad things. He didn't stop the rebellion because he had a better plan in mind. That's how I saw this plan play out in history and how God was using this fight with evil to change the very nature of the world. The end goal wasn't just to beat Satan, it was also to bring back to life beings who had faced evil and chosen good, who knew what love cost and still chose it. He also told me that people have the chance to grow into something that not even angels fully understand through their struggles. This is why I now see our lives on earth as a furnace, a place where we are being shaped and polished. We can grow in love and become more like Christ through every choice we make and every struggle we go through. Also, I got it better why God doesn't just get rid of bad things right away. What you might call a long game. There is more to the goal than just getting rid of evil. The goal is to make beings who have faced evil, seen how empty it is, and chosen love instead. Another part of my vision that was hard for me to understand was the thought of hell or punishment that lasts forever. I learned from Jesus that hell isn't really a place that God sends people to, but a state of mind that people get into when they choose self-centeredness over love. I saw how Lucifer's choice to turn away from God put him in a kind of self-imposed imprisonment. He wasn't given the darkness that came over him from the source of all love and light. When people, like Lucifer, choose self-love over love in the end, Jesus said that they will spend all eternity in hell. It's not something God wants to punish. It's what their decisions have led to. When I asked Jesus if Lucifer or the other fallen angels could be saved, he gave me a hard answer. He taught me that God's love never stops, so the chance to be saved is always there. Angels, on the other hand, make choices that last longer than ours do because they are different from us. Jesus said that all angels, even Lucifer, knew everything there was to know before they made their decisions. They weren't fooled or act without knowing what was going on. They completely turned down love, and it was in their nature to do so. There is still time to make things right as long as we are alive. Every person's life is made up of choices that either bring them closer to love or further away from it. When the end judgment comes, it really shows us what choice we've been making the whole time. I didn't think it would be this easy or that hard to stay away from temptation and stay away from Lucifer's fate. You should work on being humble and liking other people. Pride is what brought Lucifer down and is still his main tool against us. Jesus taught me that being truly humble doesn't mean thinking less of myself. Instead, it means realizing how much we depend on God and how connected we are to each other. It means not being angry about what we don't have, but being grateful for what we do have. When we love God and other people, on the other hand, we become less self-centered. During our time together, Jesus showed me how small acts of love can make our relationship with God stronger and make evil less powerful in our lives. After that, he told me it was time to go back. I should remember what I had seen and tell other people about it to help them understand the world and why it's important not to be proud. When he touched my face, I felt a huge wave of love and peace. That was it. I was back in my body, gasping for air while the surgeons worked quickly around me. Faith in God has always been a part of my life, but now it's so much stronger and more real. I believe that each decision we make and each thought we have is connected to a greater spiritual truth. When I believe I'm superior to others or deserve special care, I become more aware of my pride. Pride can make even the most perfect angels bad, and I think about Lucifer's fall. But more than that, I try to strengthen the love ties I saw. I ask people to pray for me to do nice things for other people. When I talk about darkness, I want to build up those lines of light. Seeing Lucifer fall helped me learn more about how Satan works. Satan often gets things done by telling sneaky lies, just like God does. He's not always a bad guy. He seems like a good or decent person sometimes. In heaven, I saw how calm and smart he can be. He worked slowly, which made people question and be unhappy over time. As he fell, the last of his heavenly beauty burned off, and he turned into something dark. I heard Satan, my enemy, say to me, "You just saw how the great dragon, an old snake called the devil, Satan, and the world's lie, was killed." Jesus then told me, "I showed you this for more than one reason. First, I want you to know what evil is really like. The devil wasn't born bad. He chose to turn away from love and toward pride. After that, he said, second, I want you to know how powerful free will is, even the best kind. Every living thing can make the wrong choice if they have the chance. Love, hope, and being humble are very important because of this. Last, Jesus told me, look at what happens when you are proud. Being proud can ruin even the most beautiful things my dad made." Then he took me to a place that looked like the edge of heaven. From there, I could see the ground below. Things that amazed me were the thin lines of light that linked people to heaven and to each other. Christ then showed me how Lucifer's fall changed the world. I saw evil spreading around the world. It looked like thin, dark threads were trying to grab people. Jesus told me that these things were made by the enemy. Demons, doubt, and fear all tried to separate people from God and from each other. Then he showed me something beautiful, light strings that linked people to heaven and to each other. These are the links of love, Jesus said. These bonds got stronger with every act of kindness, prayer meeting, and church service. After Lucifer and his followers were thrown out of heaven, what I saw was like a wave of darkness moving across the earth. It looked like the uprising let bad things into the world. I saw how this evil often tried to connect with people. I could hear a whisper of doubt here and a temptation there, but I could also see how choices made by people could make these dark forces stronger or weaker. In our daily lives, Jesus told me, we have small choices every day, that either align us with God's love or give in to our own selfishness and pride. These are the core of spiritual combat. It's easier than you might think to keep these bad forces away from us. The key is to grow in love and humility. God of hell's main tool against us is still his pride, which is what brought him down. By choosing to be humble and realizing how much we rely on God and how we are connected to each other, we block many of Satan's attacks. We are more connected to God and to each other when we choose to love others and do good. I saw that these acts of love made lines of light that the darkness couldn't get through. Also, prayer is very important. Not only do we ask for things, but we also try to align our will with God's and make our friendship with him stronger. I saw the angels who stuck by their beliefs, and it was really motivating. What struck me most was how focused they were on God. While Lucifer and his followers became more focused on themselves, the faithful angels stayed focused on what they were really here to do and what made them beautiful. Jesus told me that these angels were truly humble because they knew that all of God's gifts were not something to brag about. They told Lucifer they were thankful for what they already had when he tried to tempt them with offers of more power or knowledge. I also noticed that the faithful angels seemed to know more about love than the others. Instead of wanting attention or position, they were happy to serve God and each other. This selfless love kept them safe from Lucifer's efforts to use pride and self-interest against them. Jesus gave me glimpses of how these angels work in our world. In ways we can't always see, they bring us messages and keep us safe. They made the light lines that tie people to God and to each other stronger. Even though they were better and stronger than us, I was amazed at how much they loved people. People didn't feel rushed or looked down on by them. Instead, they seemed to enjoy every spiritual step we took. Jesus told me that these faithful ones know how important free will is and accept that everyone has to go their own way. They will help you along the way but never take over your vision. It hurt my heart to see Jesus show me how Lucifer's sin caused waves that affected everything, causing death and decay where there had been life and growth before. When evil came into the world, everything changed. In this way, natural tragedies and animal fights are possible. But I saw hope even in this. Jesus showed me that everything in the world wants to be saved. Love and following God's rules showed me how to fight darkness in people's lives and in the world around us. I believe he does the same thing in our world, slowly shaking people's faith or morals. What I learned most important, though, is that Satan is not God's exact opposite. He is something that was made. He can trick and tempt people, but he can't make them sin. We can always pick something else. Sure, Jesus did talk more about how the devil works in the world. He told me that lying is what Satan does best. Like he lied to himself and thought he was as good as God, he now wants to lie to other people. Jesus taught me that Satan and his spirit helpers, called devils, lie to make bad things look good and good things look bad. They lie to people, make them angry and full of pride, and try to turn people away from God and each other. I saw times in history when people did terrible things out of pride, greed, and the desire for power. But I also saw how love, faith, and sacrifice fought back against the darkness. He told me that the fight you saw in heaven is still going on here on earth. But it's not with swords and armies from heaven. It's in everyone's hearts and minds. A few times, Jesus showed me glimpses of the future. But he made it clear that these were just options, not certain events. He says that the future will happen based on the choices people make in reaction to God's love. The end goal of history, I knew, was for everything to be right with God. But the path to get there could be slow and peaceful, or it could be full of chaos and pain, dependent on what people choose. There's no doubt that love will win in the end, but as my children, you get there however you choose. Every loving act makes the day when everything is fixed come faster. Some parts of these events did come to mind, but they weren't really there. I thought of Christ's return more as a doorway into truth, as if the spiritual world opened up and showed everyone what things were really like. Like most people, I didn't feel like the ruling was like a trial. Instead, it was more like a last glimpse into each person's real nature, which was shaped by the decisions they had made throughout their lives. People who had grown in love and connection naturally turned to God. People who had decided to be self-centered, on the other hand, couldn't handle how bright divine love was. Jesus told me that the judgment is not something I make people do, it is the end product of their choice to accept love or not. I learned that the strongest force in the world is honest love. It's what gives life meaning and holds everything together. Lucifer fell because he turned away from love and toward himself. When we turn away from ourselves and toward love, we rise. I also learned that each choice is important. We are all a part of a much bigger story than we can understand, and we don't have to do anything big to be a part of it. We get in line with God's plans by making small decisions every day to love, be kind, and pick humility over pride. Finally, I learned that love will win in the end, no matter how bad things look. This will happen not through force or fear, but through the free choices of those who know how important love is. We can all help win that battle by adding light threads to the design of the world. Hey,